every American pickup truck brand publishes a max towing number in giant bold letters on their window sticker. Millions of Americans buy their truck based on that number. But there's an official industry standard SAE J2807 that brands are supposed to follow when calculating it. A specific driver weight, a specific test grade, a specific set of conditions every manufacturer agreed to be measured against. And when you dig into which brands actually follow that standard down to the letter, and which ones quietly lean on the exceptions, the asterisks, and the configurations nobody actually drives off the lot, some very uncomfortable names start to appear. We pulled the tow ratings for 9 trucks: Ford, Ram, Chevy, GMC, and 5 more off the window sticker and off the marketing page. Then we found the fine print underneath, the exact cab, the exact bed, the exact axle, the exact engine required to hit that number. And we compared it to what a normal buyer crew cab, 4-wheel drive, the configuration that actually sells, drives off the lot with. Some trucks lose almost nothing. Some trucks lose nearly 1.5 tons off their own headline number. One truck on this list can't even keep its engine lineup straight from one press release to the next. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which number on the window sticker you can trust, and which one was built for a truck nobody buys. If you're truck shopping this year, or you already own one and want to know what your rig can actually pull, hit subscribe now. We put a new vehicle claim on trial every week, and this is the one where the gap between the sign and the receipt is measured in trailer weight. Let's open the tailgate. What J2807 actually requires before we rank anyone. You need to know what the standard actually demands, because most shoppers have never seen this test, and most dealerships have never explained it. SAE J2807 puts a 150 lb driver and a 150 lb passenger in the truck, adds the weight of the tow package hardware, and assumes 10% of the trailer's weight sits on the tongue. Then it runs the whole rig up Davis Dam in Arizona and 4-mile grade the truck has to climb at a minimum of 40 mph, with the air conditioning running full blast the entire way, to prove the engine, transmission, and cooling system can actually survive real heat under real load rather than just posting a number on a dyno. It doesn't stop there. The truck and trailer combination has to come to a complete stop from 20 mph within 80 feet without the trailer swinging outside an 11.5-foot lane, and the parking brake alone has to hold the fully loaded rig in place on a 12% grade. The final math is almost insultingly simple. Take the tested gross combination weight rating, subtract the truck's own weight plus driver, passenger, and hitch hardware, and whatever's left is the number that's allowed on the window sticker. SAE recommended every automaker adopt this standard back in 2013. Some manufacturers signed on quickly, others took years, and even now, exactly which trim, which cab, and which axle a brand chooses to run through Davis Dam is entirely up to them. The standard tells you how to test, not which configuration you're required to submit. That gap between tested to the standard and tested in a configuration you'd actually buy is where every uncomfortable number on this list comes from. Worst, #9 AND, #8 Nissan Titan, and the mid-size pretenders start at the floor, because the floor tells you what enough truck actually means before the ego numbers show up. The Nissan Titan posts the lowest max tow rating of any full-size half-ton on the market, roughly 9,760 lbs. That number isn't a scandal. Most families towing a boat, a small camper, or a utility trailer never get close to it. The problem is where Titan sits in its own lineup, last, aging, with Nissan investing less in the nameplate every generation, while everyone else in this segment fights over an extra 500 lbs. When a manufacturer stops fighting for the towing crown, that's usually the first sign they've stopped fighting for the segment altogether. Right behind it, the mid-size trucks Colorado, Canyon, and the Gladiator all cap out around 7,700 lbs in their best towing trim. That's not a failure. Nobody cross-shops a Colorado against a Silverado for a 13,000 lb fifth wheel. But dealerships have been known to blur that line in the finance office, letting a buyer who needs half-ton capability walk out with a mid-sized truck and a should-be-fine shrug. If you need 5 figures of towing capacity, the ceiling on this tier is the first thing to check, not the last. Worst, #7 Ram 1500, the comfort truck that lost the diesel. Here's where it gets interesting. Because Ram 1500 isn't a bad truck, it might be the nicest cabin in this entire test. But it finishes dead last among the big 3 in towing, and the reason why says something about where Ram decided to spend its engineering budget. Ram's 2026 lineup tops out at 11,610 lbs with the 3.0-liter Hurricane twin-turbo inline-6 and 11,320 lbs with the returning 5.7-liter Hemi V8. That's nearly 1,900 lbs behind the Ford F-150's best number and roughly 1,700 lbs behind the Silverado's diesel. For most weekend towing, a travel trailer, a car hauler, a couple of ATVs, that gap changes nothing. For anyone regularly pulling a heavy equipment trailer or a serious fifth wheel, it's the difference between comfortable and not rated for the job. And Ram made this gap worse by choice. The brand discontinued its 3.0-liter Eco Diesel after the 2023 model year. For a decade, that diesel was Ram's answer to Ford's Power Stroke and Chevy's Duramax, the engine you bought specifically because you towed often and wanted the torque and the fuel economy. That option is gone. The 2026 Ram 1500 is gas only, a V6, a returning Hemi V8, and the Hurricane 6. If a diesel was ever part of your half-ton decision, Ram has removed itself from that conversation entirely. To be fair, Ram isn't chasing this fight. It leads the segment in ride quality with its class-exclusive 4-corner air suspension, and the Hemi's comeback has real fan appeal. Ram built the best truck to drive to the lake. It just isn't building the best truck to pull the boat once you get there. Worst, #6 Toyota Tundra, strong hybrid, segment straggler. The Tundra's iForce Max Hybrid makes real, genuine torque, and Toyota's reliability reputation is not marketing, it's decades of data. But in this specific test, the Tundra simply doesn't keep pace. Its towing ceiling sits around 12,000 lbs, trailing the F-150 by roughly 5,100 lbs and the Silverado by over 1,000. Toyota built a smart powertrain and pointed it at a number that would have led the segment 5 years ago. There's also a hidden cost to that hybrid battery payload. Tundra's payload capacity often runs lower than its gas-only competitors because the battery pack eats into the truck's own weight budget before you've loaded a single box in the bed. You're paying a capability tax for the hybrid technology, and the segment hasn't fully rewarded Toyota for it yet. Worst, #5 Ford Super Duty, the number that doesn't apply to you. This is where the asterisk problem gets serious. Ford's F-350 Super Duty is rated up to 32,900 lbs, a legitimately enormous number, built on the same 6.7-liter high-output Power Stroke diesel that powers the range-topping F-450. Same engine, same 500 horsepower, same 1,200 lb eft of torque. The difference between the F-350 and the F-450's 40,000 lb rating comes down entirely to chassis and axle rating, not the motor under the hood. Here's the catch nobody puts on the billboard. That 32,900 lb figure requires a specific single rear wheel, regular cab, long bed configuration that almost nobody drives off a dealer lot. The moment you add a crew cab for your family, dual rear wheels for stability, and the options every real buyer checks, that number drops substantially. Ford isn't lying. Ford is advertising a truck configuration that exists mostly in a spec sheet, then selling you a different one at the counter. Worst, #Ford GMC Sierra 1500, same truck, premium sticker. The GMC Sierra 1500 shares its entire platform, its engines, and its 13,300 lb max tow rating with the Chevy Silverado. Same Duramax diesel option, same max trailering package, same real-world capability, badge for badge. Where GMC earns its spot on this list is price. You are, in nearly every trim comparison, paying a premium for GMC's styling, its Denali trim finishes, and its professional-grade branding, not for additional towing capacity. Because there isn't any. If capability is your only priority, the identical truck is sitting one aisle over in a Chevy dealership, usually for less money. Worst #3 Chevy Silverado 1500. The diesel advantage undercut by the fine print Silverado's 13,300 lb max tow is genuinely strong, and its 3.0-liter Duramax diesel 495 lb-ft of torque. An estimated 28 mpg highway is the only diesel option left in the half-ton segment now that Ram has walked away from it. On paper, that's the strongest all-around towing package in this test, not wearing a Ford badge. But that number comes with the same asterisk problem as everyone else's headline figure. It requires the diesel or the 6.2-liter V8, the max trailering package, and two-wheel drive. Buyers who want four-wheel drive, which is most buyers in half-ton trucks, give up several hundred pounds off that ceiling. Without the max package at all, most Silverado configurations land between 9,000 and 9,700 lbs. Still a genuinely usable number for the vast majority of trailers, just nowhere near the number on the ad. Best #3 Ford F-150, the segment leader with a catch you need to know the F-150, wins the towing crown outright, up to 13,500 lbs with a 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, the tow haul package, and the max tow axle, and a Super Crew 4x4 with a 6.5-foot box. That's a real achievable number in a real popular configuration, not a stripped fleet special. Ford also leads the segment in payload, with figures reaching into the 2,400 lb range depending on configuration, and it's the only truck in this test offering a genuine full hybrid, the Power Boost, which adds onboard power generation as a bonus most buyers didn't know they wanted until they had it at a campsite. The honest caveat: Ford publishes multiple numbers depending on drivetrain and package, and the marketing tends to lead with the single highest figure across all configurations rather than the one most buyers will actually drive. Shoppers who see 13,500 lbs on a billboard and assume that's what their specific 4x4 Super Crew will tow are often off by close to 1,000 pounds. Ford earns the towing crown fairly. It doesn't always explain clearly which hat you're allowed to wear. Best #2 Chevy Silverado 1500. The efficiency winner, yes. Silverado shows up twice, once as a cautionary tale about fine print, and once here ranked on its own genuine merit as the efficiency champion of the segment. When you actually spec the Duramax diesel with the max trailering package, you get a truck that pulls 13,300 lbs while returning an estimated 28 mpg highway, a fuel economy number no gas V8 or gas 6 competitor gets close to at anywhere near that towing capacity. For buyers who tow often, log serious highway miles, and care what the fuel bill looks like after year 3, that diesel efficiency is worth real money over the life of the truck, arguably more than the extra 200 lbs Ford holds over it. Silverado is also the only truck in this test where GM's hands-free Super Cruise system remains active, while you're actively towing a trailer, a genuine real-world convenience nobody else in the segment currently offers. Best #1 GMC and Chevy Heavy Duty. The trucks that actually deliver what they promise. The Silverado 3500 HD and Sierra 3500 HD share the same platform, the same 6.6-liter Duramax turbo diesel V8, and the same 975 lb-ft of torque, enough to pull a gooseneck load up to 36,000 lbs. What earns this pairing the top spot isn't the raw number. It's that the gap between the advertised heavy-duty rating and the real-world configuration a working buyer actually drives is smaller than anywhere else in this test. Heavy-duty trucks are bought by people who tow for a living, who spec the truck around the trailer rather than the other way around, and who read the payload chart before they read the horsepower number. The result: fewer surprises, fewer asterisks, and a rating that means almost exactly what it says. The 3-question test you can run on any truck on the lot before you sign anything. Ask the finance office 3 questions. 1. What exact engine, cab, bed length, and axle ratio does the advertised max tow number require? If the answer is vague, the number on the sticker isn't describing the truck in front of you. 2. What does that same truck tow with the drivetrain and cab configuration you're actually buying, not the stripped configuration Ford, Chevy, Ram, or GMC use to set the record? A four-wheel drive crew cab is not the same truck as a two-wheel drive regular cab, and the towing gap between them can run into the thousands of pounds. 3. What's your payload capacity once you've added passengers, a full tank, and the gear that's already in your bed? Payload runs out before towing capacity does far more often than buyers expect, and it's the number almost nobody asks about at the dealership. A truck that answers all three clearly is a truck that isn't hiding anything. A truck where the salesperson reaches for a laminated sheet with one number and no configuration attached is a truck that's selling you the asterisk, not the axle. The towing war between these brands has never been closer, and it's never been more confusing. 4 different manufacturers, 4 different asterisks, and one number on a billboard that quietly assumes you're buying a truck nobody actually drives off the lot. Now you know which number to trust and which one to ask about twice. If this changed how you'll read a window sticker, hit like it helps get this in front of the next family about to sign for a truck that can't tow what the brochure promised. Subscribe and turn on notifications because we put a new vehicle claim on trial every week. Drop your answer in the comments. Which brand's asterisk fooled you the longest? The billboard number, the up-to-fine print, or the salesperson's laminated sheet? Next week, we're opening the hood on an entirely different claim, the one on the fuel economy sticker. Bring your own mileage log.